When I served in student ministry back in the 1980s, I worked alongside a wise Sunday school teacher, a guy named Butch, who taught the senior guys class every year. Everyone knew what Butch would do in the class. He would challenge those guys to memorize Psalm 1. And by the end of the Sunday school year, most of them had it memorized. Why? Well, Butch knew that Jesus quoted from the Psalms more than any other Old Testament book, and in the first 4 to 5 centuries of the Christian era, there were more commentaries written about the Psalms than any other biblical book. Early Christians got excited about the Psalms. Maybe you could get excited with me this morning as I read Psalm 1 for you. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Psalm 1 talks about a blessed man. Who is this? The blessed man is under the favor of God, ultimately happy, the recipient of life, joy, peace, and delight. And Psalm 1 contrasts the blessed man with the wicked man. Verse 1 shows that there's a progression in the life of the wicked man who walks and then stands and then sits. When they walk, they march in step with the rest of the world. When they stand, well, that's even more settled than walking. They have a stance, a settled determination. And when they sit, this is even more settled and more adversarial. To sit in the ancient world was the posture of legal deliberation. A judge would sit in judgment, as they do today. The wicked are people who not only take their own stance, they claim to be an authority on the position they have taken, and they sit as mockers against God's way. They jeer and sneer at the one who walks in God's way. The lifestyle of the blessed man is in direct opposition to that of the wicked man. He becomes like a tree planted by streams of water, and he yields fruit. His leaf does not wither. And whatever he does prospers. Such a tree has a strong root system. Chaff has no roots. A tree is weighty, heavy. Chaff is light. It's not fruit. It has no value and provides no sustenance for anyone. Now, at this point, we've done a little bit of digging, but I want to suggest to you we very likely aren't seeing this psalm correctly. There's an old Carly Simon song where she sings, "You're so vain, you probably think this song is about you." We could change one word and sing, "You're so vain, you probably think this psalm is about you." But read verses 1 and 2 again. What this is stating in an ongoing all or nothing kind of way is, blessed is the man who never walks in step with the wicked, never stands in the way of sinners, never sits in the seat of mockers, who always delights in the law of the Lord. And this crushes me. See, Psalm 1 contrasts righteousness and wickedness. And if we read this through the framework of we need to be righteous, then we are crushed. This is a reading of the Psalms through the lenses of what we need to do. Works, righteousness, and law-keeping as a means of attaining these things rather than reading it correctly. You can read it this way. There's definitely law in this passage, but I think we miss the point if we make it all about us. Psalm 1 isn't primarily about me and the blessed man I can become. It's about Jesus, the blessed man that he was as he lived out Psalm 1 perfectly. Now, this may seem like something new to you, but it's not. The early church leader and scholar Augustine said that Psalm 1 is to be understood of our Lord Jesus Christ. Martin Luther did the same thing, stating that this passage speaks of Christ literally. See, the problem is I never live out Psalm 1. Meditate on his law day and night? I can't even do it all day long, much less all night long. And so as I read it, I'm crushed. Or I have to relativize the passage and say, well, that's not really what it's talking about. The psalmist just means, blessed is the man who's trying not to walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who sometimes delights in the law of the Lord, even sometimes at night. Psalm 1 is about the perfect, obedient, righteous person. And that ain't me. The blessed man is like a tree which yields forth its fruit in season. Rather than making it about you and me and the fruit we try to bear, if this passage is about Jesus, the Messiah, then we are the fruit he bears. We're not the blessed man, we're the fruit. Look at those 3 verses again, the first 3. Verse 1, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked or stand in the way of sinners, because Jesus is the way. Verse 2, his delight is in the law of the Lord, because Jesus is the truth. Verse 3, he is like a tree whose leaf does not wither, because Jesus is the life. There you have it from Psalm 1. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Blessed is the man. This is Jesus, because Jesus did live that perfect righteous life and didn't walk in step with the wicked or stand in the way that sinners take or sit in the company of mockers, because he did delight in the law of the Lord and he meditated on the law day and night. So when we read these Psalms, this is the good news, the gospel. Yes, we read the law in them, but we see Jesus as the one who fulfilled the law. We see the reality of our sin and judgment. And the last verse of Psalm 2 is our message, our gospel that we live by and share with the world. It says, blessed are all who take refuge in him. Because when you're hidden in Jesus, everything that is true of him is true of you. He is like an oak of righteousness planted by streams of water, and in him the same is true of you. That's how God sees you, because you've taken your refuge in Jesus. You find your safety and your security in what Jesus has done, not in what you have done, trying in vain to be that blessed man. You can find rest and security from God's judgment and wrath, and find his favor and love upon you, because you have found refuge in the blessed man himself. And I think that's why Butch had those boys memorize Psalm 1 each year. He knew as they graduated and went through life, they would need a refuge. And he wanted them to find that refuge in Jesus alone. How about you? Psalm 1 is only 6 verses long. Give it a read today and fall in love with Jesus all over again.